We approached the process for applying for ACGME accreditation by looking at the standards as a team. We had our core faculty members and residents, as well as myself, looking through all of the standards, reading them line by line. That way we could evaluate the problems we would have with certain standards, and it allowed us to make a collective group way of dealing with each of these problems. Overall, it also allowed us to kind of reinvent our program, and overall, I think it made our program a lot stronger. And then when we sat down to actually write the application, we were able to have very well thought out responses. We were already doing 95% of the things in our AOA program, so it really wasn't that much of a stretch to make the all ACGME accreditation standards. In applying for ACGME accreditation, the ACGME supported us mainly through the Resident Review Committee, or RRC. Each ACGME specialty has its own Resident Review Committee, and they each have an executive director. In the case of internal medicine, the RRC director is a gentleman named Jerry Vasilius, and he was very helpful throughout the process. If I had any questions, I didn't hesitate to ask him either through direct phone call or email, and he would always get back to me within 24 hours with good responses based on the ACGME standards and their frequently asked questions, which also serve as basically as standards until they update the application and standard process. So overall, I would encourage everyone that has any issues with the application to contact the RRC directly, and they were very helpful in my case. Our program has benefited by going through the accreditation process by allowing us to make our strengths stronger and improve on some of our weaknesses. It allowed us to re-engage our faculty and have them really understand ACGME standards. We've also made most of our core faculty into chairs of different subcommittees. So in terms of ACGME accreditation, there's a clinical competency committee, a program evaluation committee, and then there's the CLEAR or clinical learning environmental review. We've been able to get most of our core faculty and our residents on several of these committees, and it's helped everyone engage in the process. And instead of just teaching residents how to take care of patients, which we're already doing, we actually have gotten them more engaged in the entire academic and hospital-based quality improvement programs. I feel that programs should seek osteopathic recognition so we don't lose our professional identity. I feel that we have a lot to offer to ACGME through our osteopathic model of treating patients and training young physicians. We applied for osteopathic recognition right after we got our initial program accreditation, and we're already doing all of the things in our program training residents osteopathically. So it's really not a stretch for us to obtain osteopathic recognition because we're already doing it. My advice for anyone that's completing the application process is you just have to do it. Just sit down. I know it's a lot of work in terms of we're already seeing patients and we're teaching and doing a ton of things, but you know, once we came out with the single accreditation system, we just have to sit down and do it. I mean, I just told our whole team that we set out a timeline to be done by, and I really made everyone get engaged in the process and meet all of the deadlines. So there's no magic formula for this. It is a lot of work, but I think overall a good self-study of your program, and it will help, and just sit down and do it. About the specific application process, some tips for program directors. First is to just read through all the standards, both institutional and program. Your designated institutional officer is the one that submits the institutional application, and it's generally just specific to the fact that the institution can support residency programs. It's the shorter of the two applications. Once that's submitted and you enter the pre-accreditation cycle, then you could submit your program application. There's the initial program application, which is smaller, and then the much larger program application. Some tips would be to make sure that you have all of your affiliation agreements handy, as well as all of your core faculty members' CV/resume, because you'll have to enter that information. Have your program manuals handy, because you'll be kind of directly submitting a lot of that information almost verbatim from the previously AOA specific crosswalks to now the ACGME application. And my biggest piece of advice is it's going to take a long time. You got to give yourself plenty of time to do it. Try to make sure that you have coverage from your hospitals and your core faculty so that you could carve out plenty of time to sit down and do the application. But it is doable, and I think overall it will make your program stronger.